We are on a mission to falling in love with matcha again. Gosh, if you've been with me for some time, you know I go through these phases where I am caffeinated, I'm decaffeinated, I'm obsessed with some type of tea, matcha tea, I'm not drinking any hot beverages. This roller coaster has been for years. And you know what? I don't foresee it changing anytime soon. But what I do really want to work on is falling back in love with matcha. I was actually going through my Instagram and I was trying to figure out the last time I had a matcha latte, or at least posted about it. The last time I posted anything on my social media about matcha was in 2018. Now we are now in 2022 and I think I've probably had one or two matchas, maybe from Starbucks or a cafe between then and now. But around that time, or shortly after that time in 2018, I picked up a matcha from Winners, and it was an organic matcha, but it was maybe not the best quality. And by maybe I mean definitely not the best quality, because after having it a couple times, I kind of developed this aversion to the taste of matcha. It was so bitter. So anyways, I actually reached out to my friends at Pluck and thought if I was gonna give matcha a go again, this would be the one brand that I would be most interested in trying again. So they were so generous enough to send me a nice little sample of their ceremonial grade matcha. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I'm nervous because I just really developed this my mouth is almost feeling ugh just thinking about matcha, because I just really did not love the taste for a long period of time. But I've heard so many great reviews on the taste of this matcha, and also the quality of Pluck is phenomenal. I actually did a video with them last summer talking about their teas, and I was making some mocktails out of their teas, and their teas are to die for. I have them in my drawer right now. I love them. The Berry Harvest one is one of my favorites. Don't quote me on the exact name of that, but the one that has the berries in it is so, so delicious. So the purpose of this mission is to not only fall in love with the taste of matcha again, but also because I really want to have the added benefits that matcha does provide. It is extremely high in antioxidants, especially EGCG, which is a polyphenol that is very, very high in antioxidants compared to a lot of other antioxidants. And I am all for anything to do with antioxidants, because I'm all for anything that is anti-aging. I'm not against aging by any means, and some people hate the word anti-aging, but I'm definitely about helping to support my body for as long as I possibly can. And I do think the antioxidants are a huge component to helping to support your overall health for a long period of time. I also love the idea that the polyphenols are incredibly rich in nutrients for your skin. You guys know I've been on a skin journey for a long time, and I really want to see what the matcha does at such a high quality to my skin, and if it's something that can be used as a therapeutic tool as well. And then lastly, I do want to maybe dial back my caffeine intake just a teeny tiny bit. So I am at the point of drinking about 3 cups of coffee a day, espresso cups of coffee a day, and maybe that's a little bit much. I mean, I have my one in the morning with my breakfast, I have one in the afternoon, and then sometimes I have a second one in the afternoon, mainly because I've been running some webinars later in the evenings between 7 and 8, or even taking clients later in the evenings. So I just feel like I need to push my day a little bit farther. And then around 10 o'clock, I'm wide awake and can't go to sleep. So I don't want to screw up my sleep schedule. So I know the matcha will give me a little bit of a caffeine hit, but not the crash that I'm experiencing with over-consuming caffeinated coffee. So what's a little bit more unique that you might not know about matcha compared to coffee is it also contains an ingredient called L-theanine. And L-theanine is an amino acid that helps to increase your GABA and your serotonin production. If you're not familiar with GABA, it is a neurotransmitter that is seriously one of the most top-notch ingredients I've personally used. So I use GABA in a supplement form if I'm feeling incredibly overwhelmed, or if I have a lot of rapid thought processes happening, because what it helps to do is calm that rapidness and really helps you see clearly. So matcha naturally does contain the L-theanine, which helps to increase your own GABA production. As I mentioned, it also helps to increase your serotonin production, which we know is our happy hormones. Right now, we are in the dead of winter, and any type of serotonin production is absolutely necessary. Okay, so for the rest of this video, it's going to be clips over the next few days of me trying to master the best recipe for my matcha. Today we're starting off with a bag and we're making a latte because I feel like that's something I will not screw up, and it's actually kind of what I'm craving right now. So let's get to it. It doesn't really smell super matcha-y. It's also not super dark in color. Also, this milk is super, super frothy because I used organic, partly skimmed 2% milk. Hold up before anyone freaks out. I have actually been incorporating dairy back into my diet simply for the reason that my skin is not reacting. I think it's because I'm choosing organic dairy, so my skin is actually doing really well. And also, a lot of the dairy-free milks were giving me some digestive upset because of the gums and thickeners in them, so I just felt like I needed to have a little bit of a break. So I haven't had like oat milk and things like that actually in probably over a month. My digestion has been great. I am going to try making the matcha latte with some dairy-free alternatives because not everyone can have dairy. And also, like, if this is something I have every day, I definitely don't want to be consuming this every day. So I do want to find like a healthier dairy-free option that isn't super filled with like gums and thickeners that are just going to irritate my gut again. So anyways, I bought this specifically for this video to give it a go because I feel like this is like the most traditional way of having it. Let's do it. Here's the first official taste test. It's very mild. I actually really like it. Okay, you can taste the matcha, but it's definitely not bitter. And if you've had matcha, you know exactly what I mean when I say it's not bitter. When you smell it, it smells like it's gonna be bitter. It's very green, but this is really actually nice. Maybe a little bit more sweetener. So I just used maple syrup in this. So maybe like a teeny tiny bit more maple syrup. Maybe some cinnamon, but I actually really like this. I hope the rest of the week is as good as this one. Anyways, I'll be back tomorrow with another recipe. If you're not sticking around for this video, which you should because I'm going to change the recipe every day and I'm going to let you know if my mission to falling in love with matcha again is successful. But just in case you're not going to hang out for the rest of this video, this product by Pluck, their ceremonial organic matcha tea, is available at Joanne's Place and it is also on sale this month. So if you're going to join me on the mission of falling in love with matcha again, which you should, I think the benefits of matcha are so substantial, then go pick it up from Joanne's Place. You can get this cute little tin on sale and you can start your journey to loving matcha with me. That's it for this part of the clip. I'll be back tomorrow with a whole other recipe. Maybe we'll use dairy again, but maybe we'll use some like cinnamon and vanilla. I don't know. Hold tight. I'll be back in just a minute. So I had just gotten home from a massage. It's now 4. I definitely need to pick me up. So we're gonna make a matcha. I think today I am going to still do the dairy, but I'm gonna try adding in more matcha and some cinnamon and vanilla, and we'll see how it goes. Here we are, moment of truth. I think I'm adding too much milk. Not that there's a lot, but just that it's super, super frothy. So anyways, here we go. That's good. I really like this. So even though I added the more matcha in, so I'd say like at least maybe close to a teaspoon, like 3/4 of a teaspoon of matcha. It's still not like gritty or bitter, but it's still very creamy, very frothy. I like this one. 10 out of 10. I could probably get used to making this every day instead of coffee. But anyways, tomorrow I have already bought a oat barista blend. So we're gonna try it with oat milk and see how that goes. I do think though one of these little clips will be of me just mixing with water. I'm just trying to like build myself up to that, you know? Like we're working our way with the lattes, and with each latte I'll add more matcha, and then at the end I'll do one of like just straight matcha, and then we'll see what that tastes like. But for now, let's just keep enjoying the lattes. Okay, that's it. I'll be back tomorrow with the oat one. Okay, back again. Gonna make another matcha, but just for reference, it's Sunday. And I have this mentality around Sundays where it doesn't matter how many coffees you have on a Sunday, like you just don't keep track because it's Sunday. But the problem with this Sunday is not only am I on a mission to fall in love with matcha, but also I literally do not have any more coffee grounds left. I made my last coffee this morning and thought, I can't even make an excuse to not have a matcha today because I literally do not have any coffee grinds and it's 1:45. I need to pick me up. So I am going to use the Elmhurst Oat Barista. They're very known for their minimal, simple ingredients. So this one is filtered water, oats, 2% or less of cane sugar, dipotassium phosphate, and salt. Non-GMO, which is fantastic. We want to make sure as much of our food can be non-GMO and organic. This is not organic oats, so that's one downfall about this product that I wish was a bit better. Though it does say it steams and froths well, so let's put it to the test. I'm also gonna increase to 3/4 of a teaspoon, and we'll see how that goes. The froth in that oat milk did not lie, did not disappoint. So this is the Oat Barista blend with the Pluck Matcha. I did add some vanilla, some cinnamon on top, and a little bit of maple syrup as well. I feel like I've been missing out on matcha this whole time. If only I just attempted this mission again. It kind of tastes like marshmallowy, which I really don't think it's what it's supposed to taste like, but like that's what this tastes like, marshmallows. Maybe that's the vanilla extract in it, but I'm glad I went up in the measurement to 3/4 teaspoon because I feel like if I still had it at a half, I may not be able to taste the matcha. So as I mentioned, on the mission of falling in love with matcha, it was mostly for the taste of matcha. Again, I really wanted to give it a go, but also I wanted to sub out that later afternoon coffee with matcha because I had been starting to see some effects with my sleep quality. And there are so many factors that go into your sleep, but I really do think if I consume caffeine like coffee, specifically espresso, in the later afternoon, I really feel the effects of not having like the best quality of sleep. This last week, I've been really intentional with skipping that coffee and having a matcha instead. So I filmed the other ones obviously, but I needed to use up that milk. So I did have it also the 2 other days. I just didn't film it so it wouldn't be a repeat, you know? Anyways, so I am now on day 5 of not having an afternoon coffee, and as I mentioned, last night's sleep was substantially refreshing. I was just so happy to go to bed feeling actually tired, and then waking up this morning and being like, wow, I feel so well rested. And what I will say is there's many interruptions in my sleep. My dogs sleep in the bed, they jump off, they jump back on. Huntley specifically sleeps around my head on the pillows. Shay got up super early this morning for work. So even after having some interruptions in my sleep, I still feel really, really good today. And as I mentioned, skin health in particular is a huge goal and passion of mine. And I really do want the benefits of matcha to be a reflection in my skin. So matcha with the polyphenols and antioxidants are going to give me that healthy glow, but also allow me to have a restful sleep. And I can't stress enough that sleep is so incredibly important for any form of healing, whether it's injury, your gut health, stress, anxiety, skin health. Sleep is such a core foundation in that healing process. So if you're not sleeping, it's really hard to achieve any other goals in your life. I'm really happy with myself that I decided to make the change. As much as I love coffee, don't get me wrong, I'm not gonna give up coffee again. I say that now, and like in a month, maybe I'll give it up, but I don't want to give up coffee because I love the taste of it. I love the atmosphere of coffee. I just love the soul feeling of coffee so much. But I'm really also starting to feel that feel with matcha as well. I'm back, and it's still Sunday, but it's like 3, and I'm not necessarily craving something as a caffeine hit right now. I'm feeling pretty energized, but I was just down a rabbit hole on TikTok about matcha, and I was really inspired to try a straight up matcha tea today because I was learning about the whisk situation with matcha. And now that I understand a little bit more about the whisk, I feel like that was also maybe a missing component in the last time I was trying to love matcha. And I feel like this is a question that I've heard people ask before, like, do you actually need the whisk to enjoy matcha? I mean, I don't think you have to have it, but I think it's a huge piece of the matcha. Because what I learned was when you're whisking it, it obviously creates like that froth, which I knew, and that's kind of how I know when it's whisked enough, is when you have that little bit of froth on the top. But by using this to froth your matcha, it aerates the matcha, which actually helps to reduce the bitterness and creates more smoothness. So if those are 2 of your main concerns, which they were for me, I think the whisk will really help to reduce that. Also, another thing I learned about the whisk is that it is part of like the ceremonial aspect to creating matcha. There is a whole culture around matcha, and also it is something I think we should note and bring appreciation and awareness to. It is a ceremonial practice. Creating and taking and making, harvesting, everything around matcha is a very sacred ceremonial practice. It's not just taking dried leaves, make it into a matcha powder. There is a whole traditional piece to it that I definitely don't think enough people talk about. And to be honest, I wasn't all quite that aware of what that looked like, aside from doing some research on the Pluck website. But when I was watching a couple YouTube videos, it's actually really, really amazing to watch how matcha is created and how also fragile of a plant it is. And that's honestly why matcha is so much more expensive than a traditional green tea, is the way it's prepared and harvested. It is done in a lot of unknown temperatures. So on the Pluck website, they talk about how they actually have to cover the matcha plants to make sure that there's no frost or any damage being done. So there's a lot that goes into making matcha. And what I'll say is not every company is the same. And I think that's where it goes in terms of the different grades of matcha. Obviously, the ones that are lower grade, which are going to be more bitter and gritty, are not going to have the same harvesting principles and guidelines as a company like Pluck, who's really passionate about making sure that their products are sustainable, that they're honoring the culture around the ingredients that they're using. And I think that really speaks volumes to Pluck in particular, which is why I'm so happy to be working with them on this video. All right, let's jump the gun and start making a traditional matcha tea on its own. No milk, no dairy, no sweetener, no vanilla, no nothing. Straight up matcha. Let's do this. It smells very green, very matcha-y, very, very matcha-y. Okay, let's do this. This is good. This is not a latte, obviously. So there's no creaminess to it, but there's no grit, which is really important to me. It doesn't feel like I'm eating sand or dirt. It doesn't taste like I'm eating dirt either, or a bunch of grasses. It's a pretty mild flavor, but it does have like the matcha flavor to it, obviously. It just tastes more refreshing. I like it. It's very tolerable. Honestly, I'm surprised. I was expecting it to be way stronger in flavor. It's not bitter at all. And yeah, the grit, there's no grit like whatsoever. It's completely dissolved. It's very smooth. There's no aftertaste to it at all. I actually really enjoy this. Really, really enjoy this. So this matcha is coming from Japan. So if we think about the tradition around matcha in Japan, they're not adding oat milk, cow's milk, any other type of milk to their matcha. They want the real deal. They know the anti-aging secrets of pure matcha, the amount of polyphenols and antioxidants and minerals in matcha. They know it is the secret. It's not adding in a bunch of stuff to it. They're just thriving off of having the straight up matcha tea. And not that when we are making matcha lattes, we're not respecting the culture of matcha by any means, but another big piece that comes with a matcha latte compared to a matcha tea is the price. It's like significantly more money, obviously, to get anything in a latte form anywhere, but also like if you're making matcha lattes every day at home, that's gonna be quite pricey. Like the Elmhurst Oat Barista is about $7.89. So having a matcha every day and having that is just a little too expensive for my budget, and I would say probably for most people's budget. Now, of course, you don't have to have that one in particular, but as I mentioned, there is a lot of nut milk alternatives on the market that have a lot of fillers and preservatives that I don't recommend. So it is a cleaner option, but in terms of getting used to having like matcha tea on its own, what I find will be helpful is the more water I can add, the less nut or oat or whole milk I will add to it, which I think is really, really important to note. Also, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't mention the caloric intake when we're mixing lattes versus just tea. So not that everybody needs to be watching their calories per se, but it would be silly of us to not mention the fact that there is a huge difference between having a matcha latte with oat milk or with whole milk or with whatever else added into it as your main base of liquid and just a small amount of water. So I think for me, my goal will continue to be adding more water and more matcha and having less of the milk on top as well. Anyways, with all of that being said, I would say my mission to falling in love with matcha was 100% successful. I couldn't have done it without the help from my friends over at Pluck. So thank you so much, Pluck, for gifting me some delicious matcha. And if you want to start to incorporate matcha into your diet and you're worried about the bitterness and the texture and flavor, this made the cut. And I will say I've been extremely picky with matcha, hence why I gave it up for years at a time. But really impressed with the quality. I'm really impressed with the texture, the flavor, and also the cost of the matcha. So this matcha is available at Joanne Space. It's on sale right now, so it would be the perfect time to pick that up and incorporate it into your routine. And if you have another matcha recipe and you would love for me to try it, please drop it in the comments below. I feel like this is something I'm going to continue to try to explore, so any recipes would be much appreciated, or any tips as well. I will say definitely not a master on matcha by any means, but I do want to continue to use this as a ritual for healing, for energizing, and for improving my sleep and skin. So any recommendations would be greatly appreciated. Thank you guys so much for checking out my video today. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and I'll continue to keep you guys updated on my matcha journey. And also, if you haven't already, please be sure to be subscribed to my channel so that you do not miss a notification as soon as a new video is released. And I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye!